Hi, people. Me again, of course, as always, and as usual, Moino Ravenberg. Yeah, this is an astrological geolocation chart I'm going to do. In the wake of my glorious move to Latvia, I am going to do the geolocation chart. You can see the data as always, and as usual, in the top left corner. I cast this chart last week, Saturday, at 2 minutes to 2 p.m. in Riga. So yeah, let's dance. Now, Pluto is in Capricorn and it's conjunct the ascendant, also in Capricorn. And the first house is humongous, as you can tell and or see. It goes from 28 in Capricorn all the way to 14 degrees in Aries. That brings it approximately to a house and a half. So let me see. 28 to 14, 28 plus 12. Sorry, 28 plus 2. 2 degrees, and then after Capricorn, it's Aquarius, and then Aquarius as a whole, and then 14 degrees. So 32 plus 14. 32 plus 14 is 46, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see it. Hold on. 32 plus 14 is 46. Yeah. So yeah, approximately a house and a half. You know, a house and a half would be 45. It's a bit over, 1 degree over. Approximately. So yeah, what all of this stands for how humongous geographically Latvia is compared to its general population and the population density. Latvia approximately has 2 million people. And if you check Latvia on the map, then you'll see for yourself how big Latvia is and that the absolute majority of Latvia geographically is uninhabited. So that's what Pluto and Capricorn, as well as it being conjunct the ascendant in the same sign, stands for. Next up, we have the Pot of Fortune and Aquarius. Latvia, or one, either their strongest or at the very least one of their strongest attributes, which is the weather. The weather is cold, but not too cold to the point where it's extreme in nature, to the point where it's uninhabitable or anything like that. The weather is quite pleasant. It's cold and windy and rainy, but in copious amounts to the point where it's pleasant to any person that likes cold weather in general. Um, Next up, we have Saturn going retrograde in Pisces, 12 degrees. That simply stands for the nature of Latvia as a whole. Like I've already said, by default, similar to or almost the same as all, if not most, Slavic countries. Latvia also has a thingy. People are more serious minded and straightforward in nature and whatnot. They also suffered under communism, you know. The past is one of the things that Pisces stands for and it going retrograde. And that is a considerable factor, a huge factor even, or a semi-huge factor for why people are the way they are. Again, they're melancholic. In one word to describe melancholia, people are just straightforward. They're quite Saturnian and they do smile, but not as often as someone that's on the opposite end of the spectrum. Again, any person that knows what Slavic people are like knows what time it is. Exactly what I'm talking about. They suffer from emotional frigidity. Not all of them, but the majority of the population. Neptune is in the same zodiac sign in Pisces, going retrograde as well. That stands for the fact that it stands for the same thing that Saturn stands for in essence, but it also foretells of something unpleasant. It stands for the fact that, not saying that that is the case or that that happens, but there is a probability of that happening based on mentality. Because of the hardships and the aforementioned difficulties that people have to deal with, some of them are more inclined to look in a direction that is not honest and just legally or otherwise. So they're more prone to shady dealings and they're more inclined because of all the difficulties to engage in shady dealings or worst case scenario illegality. Let's just put it that way. That doesn't happen. I'm not saying that that happens en masse or anything like that, but a good deal of people that suffer difficulties have that kind of tendency, as in, crap, life is so hard, I'm struggling so much. You know, it makes it so that for example, if someone offers them a deal or some kind of employment opportunity, even if the employer is not exactly the most honest of individuals, they will be inclined to look the other way because they have a mentality along the lines of it's slim pickings. It's not like I can I can afford to pass up an opportunity to make money or similar, so I'll just take it. That's the mentality they have. The North Node going retrograde in Aries simply stands for the fact that people need to be more lively and more energetic, and the South Node says the opposite. In this context, it simply stands for the fact that um, interaction with each other is already sufficient. Um, Chiron is in the second house in Aries going retrograde, which stands for the fact that there are financial incentives, but they're minor. That's why it's Chiron. But these financial incentives are, they're not exactly done. They're not exactly of a fully honest nature or just nature. That's why you're saying that Chiron is also opposed Lilith. It stands for the aforementioned shady dealings that I was talking about. It's quite minor. That's why it's Chiron and as well as Lilith. Both Chiron and Lilith are minor celestial bodies. Now, here it comes, the icing on the cake. The Earth is in Taurus in the second house. This is easily, compared to everything else, the strongest placement you can see for yourself. Again, the Earth is in a zodiac sign that's it's at its strongest in, because the Earth stands for just that, the Earth. It stands for materialism, material resources, and it is in the same zodiac sign that aligns with that or those values. And it's in the same house that that zodiac sign rules over. And on the opposite end, you're seeing the Sun in Scorpio's house, and it just goes on. What this means in a nutshell is that what Latvia as a country as a whole needs the most is money. They're not the only ones, but yeah, there is a strong, ridiculously strong desire and need for financial gain. Let's just put it that way. Again, the Sun in Scorpio's house means exactly the same thing. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, no, I'm gonna treat it well I'm already at it. Since I'm already at it, listen, people. That's why I'm saying the moon also being here in Scorpio in the eighth house. It stands for the fact that I thought since I'm already on the subject, let me just cover it right away. It stands for the fact that in daily life, people focus on making money and making a lot of money. Okay, and it also stands for the fact that there is a lively, all of this Scorpio energy stands for the fact that there is a lively banking as well as financial institutional atmosphere present in Latvia, which is absolutely correct. And Mercury in Scorpio in the ninth house stands for the fact that um, people uh, that have something to offer, any kind of business, service, or product, or anything like that, focus especially on attracting foreigners that have wealth in abundance. That's what it stands for. Mercury in Scorpio in Sagittarius's house, the ninth house. The reason that this house is so small alongside the third and the fourth house, the smallest houses are the third, the fourth, the ninth, and the tenth house. Now, the reason the ninth house is so small, which is because it simply reflects that these opportunities or what people have to offer in Latvia compared to, the desires of the rest of the world, supply and demand, is quite minor, very, very minor. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the very few times that I've seen a house. I think it's in my entire career, I've never seen a house so big like the first and the seventh house, and on the opposite end of the spectrum, so to speak. These houses that are so small. I mean, these houses are so small that they're, look at this, 23 in Taurus to 7 in Gemini. That's 14 degrees. It's below half a house. It's 1 degree below half a house. A house that's only 14 degrees long. In any case, that's what it stands for. It stands for the fact that people in Latvia, business people or business entities, they have very little to offer. Um, or on the opposite end, um, they attract very little investors. Okay, there is a very minor group of people that, for example, is interested in what someone from Latvia has to offer. It's not like there is a lively market exchange regarding trade between Latvian people and foreigners. No, that's why that house is so small. Slim pickings. Uranus in Taurus going retrograde stands for the fact that in daily life sometimes people come up short, and that infrastructure as a whole is good. It's stable, consistent, but sometimes here and there, up to minor extents, it suffers from sudden stagnation or similar. Fourth house, also another super small house. I think it's only 10 degrees. The fourth house is the smallest. And the opposite, again, across, same thing, 10th house. Now, fourth house being so small and it being ruled by Gemini stands for the fact that Latvian households are hypothetically non-existent. There are barely any households, so don't think a household with family and whatnot. No. Families are quite small, and even then, they're limited to day-to-day interactions. And with the 10th house across from there, it stands for the fact that the government is also compared to, for example, the average government in the world, it's by comparison considerably smaller, or let's just say considerably more compact. And that's why it's ruled by Sagittarius. It stands for the fact that the government is focused primarily on foreign dealings and trade and whatnot. Fifth house, Jupiter in Gemini going retrograde, opposing Venus in Sagittarius alongside Pallas. Now, Jupiter in Gemini going retrograde stands for the fact that there is a lot of interest in day-to-day life regards to dating and leisurely activities, anything like think of a nightlife, restaurants, going out to eat and whatnot. But it's of a superficial nature. It's more of a mundane day-to-day nature, like ordering takeout and stuff like that. Um, nothing like huge mega concerts and stuff like that to be held. That's why the house is also so small. And it's also ruled by Gemini. Um, and it also stands for the fact that especially women, the dating scene is of such a nature that women are looking for someone that can be a provider, traditional gender role, someone that can help them out and make life easier as a whole, especially day-to-day life. And considering the fact that it's Jupiter, it's primarily it's um it's materially motivated. Yeah, typical Slavic nation, Baltic state slash Slavic nation. That's also what the opposition with Venus and Pallas in Sagittarius stands for. See what I mean? Venus stands for wealth, Sagittarius stands for abundance, and Pallas stands for coming in second place, general virtues such as intellect, self-sufficiency, mentality, and whatnot. And again, I knew that, okay? All of these placements, Jupiter, Venus, and Pallas, all stand for the fact that, especially with women in Latvia, they love foreigners, and especially foreigners that are well off. A foreigner that can handle himself and that is wealthy and proficient and whatnot. It's like their dream guy. Um, Sixth house is empty, ruled by Cancer. It simply stands for the labor market in general. It's also a bit smaller, but only by 2 degrees. Yeah, from 0 to Cancer to 28 in Cancer. And the fact that it's ruled by Cancer simply stands for the fact that a good deal of people work in jobs that Cancer rules over. Think of food, real estate, stuff like that. That's how people earn a living. Think of cleaning, anything and everything that relates to that relates to a household like environment. Um, Seventh house is so huge and it's ruled by Cancer, which stands for the fact that people simply interact with each other on a day-to-day basis. Um, and It can be either superficial or it can be tight-knit. But the latter is minor. That's also what Lilith stands for. Out of a large group of people, general interaction is just that, it's superficial. It's just revolving day-to-day life, business and whatnot, etc., especially motivated by material gain, so by money. And only a very small group of people actually like interact with each other in detail, like they become best buds and they interact with each other, or lovers or similar, that they really get to know each other, as in, hey, what are your wants, needs, wishes, desires, stuff like that. Mars is in Cancer, and Mars is not exactly strong in Cancer, quite the opposite. Stands for frustration, especially from men. And I know this degree. If I'm not mistaken, this is a business degree. In any case, it stands for the fact that a lot of guys they that essentially that do their jobs and whatnot. They go about their lives, they do their work, etc., etc. They interact with people, but sometimes it leads to frustration at a business level. Think of anyone from a delivery driver delivering food, and then the person either doesn't have enough money or doesn't want to give a tip or anything like that, to a businessman that wasn't able to successfully close up a deal, or didn't get sufficient money for what he wanted from the deal or what he wanted out of it. That's what it stands for. Um, Again, Juno is in Libra here, and it's in the eighth house, which stands for what I've already said. You see how strong all of it is when you put all of it together. It stands for the fact that people, generally speaking, men and women, when they interact with each other, one of the main motivating factors of closeness is financial gain. So essentially, no money, no love. That's what you need to keep in mind. It's not that people are greedy, okay? It's just that's why the entire chart supports it so heavily. It simply stands for the fact that the way that things are configured, this is what things are like in general in Slavic countries. This is what the culture looks like. I mean, if you're, for example, a woman and you live in a Slavic country and you're single, you don't have anyone to support you or to help you with bills or anything like that, then life is going to be tough. You're going to find yourself working multiple jobs, most likely, or living a very meager life, materially speaking. Understand meager by first world standards. So essentially, you'll be living slightly above paycheck to paycheck. At the end, you might have like only 100 euros left or similar to do something with. And that's not so bad, but obviously you can't travel, for example, on 100 euros. Um, Let me see if there's anything else I have. And yeah, Ceres is in Capricorn, I mean, in the 12th house, which is also ruled by Capricorn, which stands for the fact that people simply go about day-to-day life and in an obscure manner. Essentially, they don't draw attention to themselves and they don't stand out. That's all. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. See you until next time. Bye bye.